What's up, everybody? Welcome back to an exciting episode of JT Invest in You. Today, I have with me the founder of the ALGODEX, one of the most exciting projects building on the Algorand blockchain. The ALGODEX is highly anticipated by the Algorand community, and it was an absolute pleasure speaking with Alex. I hope you enjoy the interview. All right, so today I have with us Alex, the founder of ALGODEX and the founder of AlgoDev. How are you, Alex?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Nice to have you today. Now, most of my followers already know what a decentralized exchange is, but what is AlgoDev, the other project that you seem to be working on?
So AlgoDev is the company behind ALGODEX, basically. So that's the company we work for.
Oh, that makes sense. Now, after the AlgoDEX is out, are there any other projects in the pipeline for AlgoDev, or is it solely right now focused on the DEX?
Yeah, right now it's solely focused on the DEX. We were thinking of doing an NFT marketplace, but we'd have to figure out, how that'll work, because we want to just keep refining AlgoDEX, basically.
Of course, that makes sense. Now, I did just do a video on your decentralized exchange and Tinymen's. Honestly, I thought it was great. It was really easy to use. I'm not sure if you caught that video, but it was super simple. Honestly, I actually really liked the functionality of it. But could you just quickly explain to my followers what the importance of a decentralized exchange might be, and why, why Binance and things like Coinbase aren't just good enough?
Right. So basically, the whole point, similar to the whole point of cryptocurrencies in general, which is where you have control over your own money. So when you use a decentralized exchange, you have custody of your funds at all times. It's not on the exchange. So basically the exchanges, assuming you're 100% decentralized, just deliver the software to you. And then your web browser generates all the transactions and connects to external wallets for signing the transaction. So basically the way it works is you connect your wallet, and then your web browser will generate some unsigned transactions. Then you click a button, and then it'll sign them using the external wallet that the exchange has no control over. So
it's super easy to use. When I used it yesterday, it's building on Algorand, so it really just took seconds. Now, I was wondering, when I was using it yesterday, I know Yieldy has the same issue, but when you're on Yieldy, you're only on it for like a couple minutes, so it's not really that big of a deal. Is there any way for you to maybe create like a checkbox so you only have to do your password once, or do you have to sign for every single transaction?
Yeah, that's something we plan in the future, but we have to talk to Rand Labs more about that and collaborate. The company behind my Algo wallet, possibly do some kind of collaboration. So I think right now it's the only way to do it is just checking it.
Yeah, and I mean it's super quick. It's not that big of a deal if you're only doing one or two trades, but I could imagine if you're trying to seriously trade on it for like an hour or two, it could just, maybe you just copy and paste it in there instead of just typing it up. But I don't know. It's just something to think of for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, why did you choose Algorand instead of building on, some of the other hot L1s like Solana or something like that?
Well, what I like about Algorand is that anybody can easily run their own node. And in addition to that, it's also extremely fast and secure, and it has all the other benefits. But it's truly something that's fully decentralized on a protocol level, such that, in the future, everybody could run their own node on their computer and have AlgoDEX running on their computer. And nobody can tell them, you can't do this, far down the future. Right now, it's not open source, and that's just because it's easier to gain investment if basically it's not too easy for competitors to just take the source code and market it 10 times better than me or something like that. So, but anyways, in the far future though, we have plans to fully open source everything. So basically similar to how you can run Bitcoin on your computer, you can have a Bitcoin miner, you'd be able to run AlgoDEX on your computer and just trade with anybody else who happens to be running it. And the only way you're connected to them is through the blockchain.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. It also makes sense that you want to give yourself a little bit of a competitive edge. Holding out a little bit on the open source, but that makes complete sense. Now, my next question, I really like the way the exchange is designed because it's unlike any other decentralized exchange I've personally used. I think I've heard you mention that there's one other one like that you know of, but I personally haven't seen it. So what made you decide to make it the way you did, as opposed to going the traditional route like a Uniswap or a Pancake Swap or even like Tinymen? I'm not sure if
So
you
I wanted to make something extremely user friendly. You just quickly go on and place trades, and it'll automatically opt you into assets, and you can see the order book, and just very similar to a centralized exchange in the interface. However, in the technology, it's actually fully decentralized. So it's just really cool. Just seemed like an awesome idea, and basically, it's all about making the users happy too in the long run. I mean, obviously, it's a process; it's not perfect yet, but it's getting there.
Of course, of course. So when I was using the exchange yesterday and when I made my video about it, I actually misspoke and I said that you could set stop losses on it, which I just assumed you could for some reason because I knew you could do the limit order. Is that something that a functionality that you're going to add to the platform itself?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I'd have to figure out if it's possible with smart contracts or maybe some kind of thing where you leave your computer on and the UI does it for you.
Oh yeah, that's true because you do have to stay like logged in. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how hard it would be.
Yeah.
And also, there's a lot of problems where it's possible for two people to manipulate trades. Like you could place an order and then trade with yourself and have like a fake price.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how it would work with that. So
yeah, it's a good point. I didn't think about that. What about I heard about option contracts. I heard you were interested in integrating things like call options to the platform. How would that work?
Yeah, so basically the way that would work is once it would have to be covered call options, and when you place an order, you could then write. So there have to be a second order book that's just for options, and when you write an option, someone else is basically buying that option at the same time, and you would like say write a covered call option, which would then lock up one of your orders, or lock up some of your funds or something like that. Actually, I think it would lock up your funds. And then we'd have to track the spot price in a way that's not easy to manipulate. I have some ideas of how to do that. And then basically once the spot price is hit, then the person who bought the option has the ability to trigger it and buy at that price. So I think it would work. We would just have to make sure it's not really feasible for someone to manipulate it, at least in a liquid market.
Of course. So I'd imagine it's obviously not going to be one of the capabilities when it first launches.
Yeah, of course not. So, I mean, when it first launches, it's basically going to be what you see right now. We just want to get it on mainnet as soon as possible, assuming it's fully secure. So, like, we just have to finish the audit.
When I was using it yesterday, I was like, man, I really can't wait to use this in real life. Yeah, there were a couple coins too. I mean, I know it's just testnet, but I wanted to get my hands on some Opulus, so I was like, oh, let me try to buy some testnet Opulus. And both, I actually didn't try on the ALGODEX, but I tried on Tinymen, and nobody supplied any liquidity to it. And I was like, oh, I hope this isn't a bad sign that I will have trouble getting it in real life. Now, you touched on this a little bit. I have written down here, will the exchange be fully decentralized at first? And then what steps will be taken to ensure that it reaches decentralization?
Okay, so at first, it'll on a technology level, it's always fully decentralized. But on a pragmatic, like de facto level, at first it'll be centralized on a server. We're then going to expand that to some more servers globally. And then at a certain point, once the network effect is good enough, we're just going to make a fully open source and everyone can download it, trade with each other. So basically the long-term plan is to fully open source it, and that will allow it to be even more decentralized on a de facto level.
So it seems like the timeline for that is sort of based on how quick it takes off. In a sense. Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
We also want to make sure all the issues are ironed out and stuff, because if everybody can download and then all these people are running different versions of it, that could turn into a mess too. So we have to make sure like there's versioning and stuff.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Now, I've seen you tweet about tokenizing the project and having like rewards programs and whatnot. Have you thought any further on that? Like, what would that look like for the end user? What kind of would the token be a governance token? What other rewards would there be for?
Yeah, so basically, it would ultimately be a DAO token. But then also, in terms of using the token, every single trading pair would have a rewards pool. And basically, there will eventually be trading fees. In the first release, there'll be none, but eventually there'll be trading fees. And those will go into the rewards pool, and that will then benefit the token holders. And basically, we might have staking pools, or you might just stake by the act of placing orders, or it could be both. We're not 100% sure yet, but basically, you'll be staking. You'll be staking basically ALGODEX tokens or the token being traded, or one of those two per trading pair. And then basically your proportion of how much you're staking versus other people will determine what amount of rewards you get. And then the rewards rate will be some kind of annualized rate of like 25% to 50%, whatever's in the rewards pool. That could actually be configured by the person who creates the token. So people can make brand new tokens and they can fill up the rewards pool with a bunch of the tokens and a bunch of ALGODEX tokens. And then anybody who starts staking will then get all those rewards. So it'll turn into kind of a equilibrium where, if too many people stake and there's not enough rewards, people will stop staking, but it'll draw on a ton of people who just want free coins. And then also the plan is that in the default ranking of the tokens, the more that's in the rewards pool per token will increase its rank in the listing. So it'll be a way for people to advertise their ASAs by filling up the rewards pool.
That's actually a perfect segue to another one of my questions. I actually was wondering if there will be, I've heard you mention that you can basically trade any ASA on it, but will there be some sort of verification system so people know that they might be trading a very risky ASA that someone just made and really has no value, or maybe like a community voting system, like an upvote system, sort of like Reddit has, or something along those lines?
Yeah, so upvoting is difficult because it's fully decentralized. At least
that's true.
That's the final intention. So we don't want to build in centralized voting mechanics. Second of all, so basically we're going to be using the Algo Explorer API, which tells you if it's verified or not. So we'll mark coins as verified.
Perfect. Cool. I mean, that answers that.
Yeah, and there's also the asset ID number that also on the tokens, which you can see.
Part of me just worries a little bit because it's just so easy to create an ASA. And we've seen plenty of scam coins created all throughout the crypto sphere. So my next question is, I know Yieldly started with Teal 3 and had a bunch of issues with it. And when they upgraded to Teal 4, they seem to have a lot less of those issues. Did you start with Teal 3?
Yeah, I think we started with Teal 2 actually, but now we're on Teal 4 now. Yeah.
And what's the difference between, I guess, the three, I suppose?
It's just each one adds more features you can use. Like Teal 4 lets you do loops and you can jump backwards basically, and they have some other useful things.
So I'd imagine it's making your life a lot easier.
And they're all backwards compatible too, so you can do everything that the previous ones can do.
And now, do they have a Teal 5 upgrade coming out that I heard of?
Most likely.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't know if you.
Yeah. No, I don't like, to be totally honest. I'm very tunnel vision on just getting the product done, so I don't follow every when it comes out, I'm going to read the whole update. You know what I mean?
But, and it's super easy to switch from one to another. It didn't.
It's super easy. It's all backwards compatible. It takes 5 minutes. You just change the version number on the top.
Perfect. Cool. Now, how will you launch the project? Are you going to use a launchpad similar to the way Yieldly did it on TrustSwap? Or are you just going to release it to the public in your own way?
Yeah, we're just going to release it to the public in our own way. So we're probably going to set up a company overseas somewhere, possibly in Malta or possibly in the Caymans, still to be decided. And then we're going to be hosting the exchange there.
Awesome.
That's kind of the plan at the moment.
In the advanced options on the decentralized exchange, I noticed the ability to switch between maker and taker, and then just plain being a taker. What are the differences and advantages of both of those?
So maker taker is the default. That's kind of what you expect. So maker means that you're putting an order into the order book, and taker means that you are just taking money out of an existing escrow. So what a maker taker is just the way you'd expect it to work, where first it'll match against any existing orders, and you'll trade with those orders until basically there's none left. And if there's any remaining balance in the order that you wanted to place, you'll then place a new order into the order book. It's just the way you'd expect an exchange to work. And then taker only means you're only going to be executing from existing escrows that other people made on the order book and taking money out of those. And then maker only means that you're only going to place an order in the order book. We actually disabled this recently because too many people were using it to place trades that were like completely out of the range. Like for example, if like, let's say USDC is trading at $1 and then someone's in maker only mode and they decide to, they want to sell it for like, 10 cents or something. And then someone buys it and then it completely messes up the charts because someone just bought USDC at 10 cents.
Oh, geez.
So
yeah, I could see how that could be an issue. Did you notice the recent news? I think it just came out like 4 hours ago about the company Wire that's integrating with Algorand. So basically, from what I understand, like developers will be able to pull on Wire's APIs to integrate fiat on-ramps to their DeFi projects. I don't know if you read that, but it was just announced a couple hours ago.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Would this be something to look into to integrate? Because I'd imagine as it stands right now, the decentralized exchange only can exchange ASAs, but if a fiat on-ramp would probably set the project apart.
Well, sure, but even if there's not a closely coupled integration, if they can on-ramp fiat into ASAs, all those ASAs will be tradable automatically on ALGODEX, because in ALGODEX you can search for any ASA and trade them.
Yep.
So they don't have to be integrated on like a software level. So.
Okay. Now, have you tried out Tinymen's exchange at all, or have you just, like you said,
Yeah, I've tried it out.
It's pretty interesting. They have the ability for you to use the mobile wallet, the MyAlgo wallet, and the Algo signer. I'd imagine you're just trying to get yours to mainnet, but will you eventually integrate more?
Yeah, we'll definitely have all three.
Because I know a lot of people, well, especially a lot of my friends that are into Algo, but didn't want to get a MyAlgo wallet to do Yieldly, but they have the mobile wallet. And honestly, they're just sitting on the sidelines for a lot of it because they're still not getting the MyAlgo wallet. It just seems like a lot of people probably have the mobile wallet over the MyAlgo wallet, except for the people that are really in the community for sure. I mean, a lot of us use Yieldly and projects like that, but there are still a lot of people that just like their app on their phone.
Yeah, we're definitely going to support all the wallets at some point. We just have to free up the bandwidth to do it.
Now, is there a time? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I'm in the middle of talking to investors and fundraising, and I have to be the one who writes some of that code. Yeah. So it's like I just have to manage a million things at the same time. So we have to basically, our goal now is we want to raise funds and hire some more people, and that'll kind of take some work off my shoulders.
Of course, that makes sense. It sounds like you have a lot on your plate. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So more props to you, in all honesty. Yeah. What is the timeline for completion if you have one? I've heard you mention that potentially by Q4, like closer to end of Q4. Is there a more updated timeline? Or
it could come really soon. It's basically just we need funding. We have to complete the audit, and then we can set up a legal structure in some country and release it. That's basically it.
Is there a timeline for the audit completion?
We have to raise funding first.
Okay, so that's the first step, of course.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so they partially completed it, but we had some funding, and then that fell through for some reason. I don't want to get way into that.
Yeah, of course.
But basically, we have to like redo the funding now. So because I'm a very transparent person, so the moment that the funding backed out, I told the auditors, I'm like, okay, we're not going to have funding at this time. So then the auditor's like, okay, we're going to suspend the audit. Yeah. So yeah.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. So that's kind of where we're at for that.
Hopefully some funding will start rolling in soon, especially.
But the audit, right. Sorry to cut you off, but the audit, so it's going extremely well though. They spent 2 weeks reviewing it and they said everything's great. If anything needs to change, just like a one-liner here or there. So
that's good to hear.
Pretty optimistic about it.
You'd probably be pulling your hair out if they came out and they were just like, you got to fix this, you got to fix that, you got to fix this over here. So that's good to hear. Getting close to okay, I got another one. What are your biggest concerns, or what do you see as the biggest risks for this project?
I would say the biggest risks are on the legal front. because every country has different laws regarding like securities and like money laundering and stuff like that. So basically all the same stuff that Uniswap is facing.
Yep. Now, is there a likelihood that ALGODEX would have to KYC its users?
So what we're planning on doing is having optional KYC.
Yeah.
So that people that care a lot about being 100% compliant with every single thing can optionally KYC and then only trade with other people who are KYC.
Okay,
but
cool.
The thing is, if we do that, I think that by nature have some centralization elements to even have the KYC.
Yeah.
So we might need to have like a fully decentralized version of the exchange, then like a partially centralized one just for the KYC stuff.
Yeah.
Even though we use some third-party system for the KYC, but still just the nature of it, I think you need some kind of centralized system.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of the appeal of a decentralized exchange is kind of the pseudonymous aspect of it.
Right.
Actually, we're nearing the end of my questions.
Sure.
I guess my last question for you is going to be, how supportive and helpful has the Algorand community and the team itself been? I know you got a little bit of an algo grant sent your way, but how helpful have they been overall?
They've been extremely helpful. Like everybody's been cheerleading me the whole way. We had an Algorand grant. It was funny because like just just within like a few weeks of me starting the project, someone from Algorand reached out and said, "Hey, you should apply for this grant." I'm like, okay. So I applied, and then we ended up getting it eventually. So yeah, everyone's extremely supportive. And the team, the team has been fantastic. There some people have left, but their contributions were very helpful while they're on board. And I'm very grateful for that. There's people in the team now who are being very helpful. So just everything. Yeah, I mean, just the community's been fantastic.
Yeah, I saw you post the other day about one of your new team members was able to figure out the pop-up blocker issue. Is that it?
Right. So yeah, it's like a pop-up blocker Armageddon. Like we have a Slack channel where it posts every error message every user runs into, and basically just nonstop you see pop-up blocker issues because the issue is that when you place a trade, there's a delay while it's actually compiling all the escrow accounts.
Yeah.
From the teal, and that delay causes the browser to think that you did not press the button to place a trade because there's too much of a delay sometimes, especially for larger trades. So it triggers a pop-up blocker, and then people don't notice a little icon in the top right of their browser. So like, oh, what's wrong? It just says error message. Anyways, our front end guy fixed that, which is good.
Yeah, that's honestly great because anytime I hear like anyone comments on one of my Yieldly videos with an issue, it's usually that they have their pop-up blocker on and they can't sign their transactions. Essentially, that's usually the biggest issue I see everyone having.
We also we also have a HubSpot where people can report any errors, and every morning we wake up. Like my wife helps with the project on customer support, so we wake up and there's like 30 emails from people in Asia who've been using the exchange, and they'll have all these issues.
Yeah.
So that gives us like an idea of like what's the biggest things to fix.
That's kind of cool. You have people using it while you sleep, and you wake up with a bunch of things to fix.
It's like every single day.
Yeah. Well, it keeps you busy, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Well,
it's good though. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to say that about wraps up my questions, but I was going to leave it to you to see if there was anything you wanted to let my listeners know about the DEX that I haven't mentioned or I haven't brought up in questions.
Not a whole lot. I'm just very, very excited where it's going right now. We're just, it's just a matter of kind of wrapping up for the first mainnet release and making it fully secure. I mean, at the end of the day, it just has to be extremely secure so nobody's money gets lost. That's what really matters.
Yep. We
don't have to make everything else in a completely perfect shape in order to release it because we can always just improve it over time, iterate on the product. And there's a ton of long-term potential for it. So I'm just very excited about it.
Yeah, the biggest thing on most people's worries with any DeFi project is some sort of hack. And if you can be relatively sure that, or extremely sure that the product is secure, then I'd rather you take your time. That's for sure.
Right, exactly. And that's why we're having a 6-week security audit instead of a faster one. So so they can really check over everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're in it for the longevity of the project, not just to rush to market and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, and I've also created over 100 test cases to test various aspects of the security to make sure that I'm confident that there's nothing I'm missing there. But you have to be honest though, like with teal, it is pretty tricky, and this is why Breach was invented, I think, because it's hard to identify every single security flaw, which is why you need a lot of eyes on it, and you need to spend a lot of time trying to sort it out. But I kept the contracts pretty simple. They just kind of go straight from the beginning to the end, and I check all the fields, and that's about it.
Now, if I have any developers watching on my channel, what would you say to any developers that are thinking about building on Algorand? Is it easy for developers to come over? Is it a little bit of a learning curve, but still extremely doable? What would you say?
There's a little bit of a learning curve at first, but what I would say is it's super easy once you just jump into it and you actually start debugging teal. So if you can get the teal DBG working, if you're going to use teal anyways, if you get the teal DBG working, you can just step through the lines of code, and it's just dead obvious how it works if you do that. If you haven't used, it's like assembly language, so it's just extreme. Like if you look at it and you haven't actually used assembly or anything similar to that, it looks more complicated than it really is. You basically just have some registers that hold data, and you just kind of go down and order the lines.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that might inspire a couple people watching to start building on Algorand. The ecosystem will be very generous to anybody that starts building a project on it. Well, I know the community is fully behind you, Alex. I really appreciate you having here. Is there any last words you want to say to my followers before you go?
I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, I greatly appreciate it. I hope you feel a little bit better, and I hope all of this is a great success. I wish you well, Alex.
Thank you. Wish you well too.
Awesome. Right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right. That was awesome. I'm super excited for the ALGODEX. I can't wait until it goes live on mainnet. Hopefully once it goes live, I can have Alex back on the channel. We can discuss any further developments. That would be awesome. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the content. And if you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. On that note, have a great night, everybody. Thanks.